Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now today's video is one of a three-part series. In this particular video, I've been kind of dreading just a little bit. Now the three-part series is covering this TT26 from Maxpedition. This particular bag was released in 2020, about mid-year. Now we first saw this TT26 at SHOT Show 2020, and Tim Tang designed this bag to essentially be sort of a hybrid between an outdoor wilderness bag, sort of like a woods craft bag, and also an EDC option. And at this point, we've done two videos, one an overview of this bag, looking at all the features, and the second using this for the wilderness application. But today, I am going to use this now as my urban EDC bag, and we're going to see how this works overall. But the reason why I've been dreading this video is because for the past 7 months, I've been carrying this VanQuest ADAX 25, which to me has been absolutely perfect for the EDC application. It does have a couple of minor deficiencies, but overall, this bag has been absolutely magnificent. And if it wasn't for the fact that I had to continue to progress with my channel, quite honestly, I probably wouldn't be changing out of this bag. It has been absolutely wonderful. But at this point, I do need to move forward. So what I'm going to do is remove all the contents from my current EDC carry system. We're going to get it put into the TT26. I'm thinking this is going to be a little bit of a challenge, but there's only one way to find out, and that's to get into it. And at this point, if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Alright, so as I mentioned, today we are going to load up this Maxpedition TT26, and again removing all of my EDC contents from my VanQuest ADAX 25. And that's the first thing. Here we have a 26 liter bag and a 25 liter bag. So in theory, in my mind, this shouldn't be too big of a deal. But I can tell you I do have some concerns right away with my ability to get all my EDC contents cleanly and just nicely organized inside this TT26. And so for my EDC options here, this is the stuff that I literally have transferred from bag to bag to bag to bag to bag, with some minor tweaks from time to time, but in general the basic necessities are always the same. So my gear is always fairly, I would say, regular, and everything fit inside the VanQuest ADAX 25 extremely well. I mean, when I say extremely well, it was like perfection, with the one hang up being the lack of water bottle pockets on the side. That is one thing that I don't have here, is a water bottle, and that was always a little bit of a drawback to me. But other than that, I do have to say this is one of the finest EDC, like urban style carry bags I have used to date, just in terms of the comfort, the overall cleanliness, the overall organization, and my ability to work out of this bag very well. That's the thing, and that is what I'm really getting into, is the ability as an EDC to work out of this bag. It has to be able to display your contents cleanly and effectively, and you need to be able to work effectively out of this bag. So will that be the case here now with the TT26? Well, there's only one way to find out. Let's get into it. And so as I mentioned, all of my contents here being very regular. I have been using this Popov notebook now for a couple of years. It has all my important notes, and I go to this regularly. My tablet PC, a number of different Velcro pouches and pockets with tools. So things like, for example, Leatherman and bits. And I always carry a little bit of redundancy, so I always have a couple of multi-tools, because sometimes for pliers, it's nice to have two different sets. Then I have things like just like little screwdrivers, and again, just additional bit sets and things like that. I have a stack of business cards. I have flashlights, hand sanitizer, safety glasses. These are all my pens and erasers and like refillable inks and things like that. Here I have, again, just a lighter, a battery bank, so a charging bank, charging different devices, so, you know, a brick and cables. This is a lithium ion battery recharger, so say, for example, 18650s. I always have a small fixed blade for food prep and things like that to eat my lunch. I always gather my pay stubs, so these come every week. And I put these in my bag and I gather them up, so I need a spot to collect these. General paperwork that I transfer between home and the office. And then just other little things, spare masks and some morale patches and things like that. So these are all the items that I just removed from that VanQuest backpack. And now to put them in the Maxpedition, well, let's see how this goes. Now, I may need some additional accessories. I may need some additional pouches. But once I get into this, time will tell. And the only way to do it again is just to get into it. So now let's load this thing up. And so one of the things that was a little bit of a struggle with me with the TT26 is the overall lack of rigidity. This bag does tend to kind of flop around a little bit. Now, it does feel as though in the back, there may be just either a little bit of foam or potentially a plastic sheet in there that helps to hold it just a little bit rigid. But if we get into the back here and opening this up, you will see that inside here, I do have a compartment. And now that I'm bending this, it does seem like it's more like foam. So that's the first thing. There's not a lot of rigidity to this bag, which makes it a little bit difficult to, I would say, just work out of it. It ends up being kind of floppy. You end up with a lot of sort of material and things that you need to manage, and that's what I'm a little bit concerned with using this for the EDC and urban application. But to me, the first thing would be the sweet spot for putting my tablet would be right in the back here. Now, this is really intended for concealed carry and a firearm, but I will never use it that way. That's just sort of not my MO. So for me, using this compartment to put my tablet PC would be about perfect. And so grabbing it here and sliding it into place, well, there's no real sliding this into place. I guess it will kind of go, but then it gets tight. Now what's happening on this side, I think it's pushing against the zipper. And unfortunately, yes, that is the case. So this to me is definitely not going to work. I can't even get the zipper shut. So that's kind of a bummer right away. What I would really love is a bag like this to be multi-purpose. And not everybody's going to use a firearm. So to me, something as simple as a tablet PC or tablet device, many people have them, many people use them. It would be very nice just to simply slip that in there. It's against your back, it's protected, and it gives you a good slim place for something like this. Now again, unfortunately, that's just not gonna work. So I need to think about it a little different, and that means this has to go on the inside. So at this point, I have no choice but to get into the inside of the bag. And there are a couple ways to get into the bag, either through the front, so you can unclip these and get in through the front, or you can go through the top. And for me, using this for my computer and as an urban bag, I really don't want to be messing with the front of this bag too much. I would much rather go through the top. And so at this point, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now you do have this sleeve, which doubles for either a water bladder potentially, but in this case, that's going to be my computer sleeve. So that'll work out pretty well. And next for me would definitely be my notebook. Now, again, where would this go? There's not too much in the way of subdivided compartments in this bag. Now, that is a potential opportunity for me to slip this in the back. So I am going to attempt this. I don't know how it's going to feel. I don't know if this being a little bit sort of square in the middle of my back is going to bother me. However, this would work very nicely in here, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give that... You got to be kidding me. You're telling me this doesn't even fit? Hold on. What I need to do is remove this strip because that is consuming just a little bit of space on me, but I can't believe this wouldn't fit. And it does. So at least at this point, I can get my notebook in there. It's not ideal. I'd rather work in the reverse. I'd rather have this in the bag and maybe have my laptop out of the bag, but that's not too bad, and that will work. Now, the next thing that's going to be critical is getting all my tools laid out, and that was the nice thing about the VanQuest. It had that sort of middle pocket section where all these were laid out just beautifully. And at this point, where are all of these going to go? Well, I don't really have any Velcro subdivided ability in here. So I'm going to need another accessory, which for me, I'm going to utilize this Emdom USA accessory pouch, which is awesome. This carrier here is great. And the reason why I like this one, the entire inside is just filled with Velcro. You can subdivide it a number of different ways. You can attach different pouches and make this really laid out in a wonderful way. So for me, this is going to essentially become my toolbox now, and I'm going to get everything laid out inside here nice and organized, which could go a number of different ways, but I have done this before and I have figured out what works. So I'm going to try to get this laid out to the best of my ability with all my tools nice and organized, and then this entire thing will go inside the TT26. And so now I have this fairly well laid out. It should all work pretty good for my needs, and I think this should be decent. Now, there is a downfall to doing this, and it really is this. One, now there's a lot of, I would say, like wasted space. This doesn't hold things necessarily the most efficiently. Could I lay it out a little bit different? Probably, but all of these items, again, transfer from EDC to EDC bag. So why am I going to completely reinvent the wheel when I can just use this Emdom compartmentalized carrier here for just a slightly different purpose? Well, at this point, at least it's getting me moving forward. So taking this and zipping it up, let's see how this fits inside the TT26. And so getting this down and into place, it actually fits quite nice. So no big deal there, fitting in here about perfectly. I mean, the nice thing is if I did need tools, granted I can't just sort of pull them right out of here, but I could just simply remove this, display it out, do my work, put my tools back, and slide this back in the bag. So that, in that regard, does work very well. I'm not concerned at all about my tablet. I think it's still fairly well protected. I don't see that being an issue, and everything sort of laying in here nicely. The other thing is, at this point, it's not overly bulky, which works out. So this isn't taking up too much space. It doesn't look out of place, and it actually holds all my stuff very organized. So not bad. Now, continuing on with my flashlights, I do perform a lot of inspections, which does require me to use high-powered flashlights. Now, these two particular flashlights I have been going to for a lot of different reasons, mostly the overall power, and when needed, I definitely need power. Sometimes I need a lot of throw, sometimes I just need a nice compact, high-powered and high-throw flashlight. So having these at the ready is going to be key, and so trying to get these into a logical location on this bag. Well, again, I don't want them inside here. I could probably get these in here, but that's not ideal. I need to grab my stuff and grab it quickly. Remember what I said about working out of your bag. To me, these days, an EDC is, that's what it's all about. It's about being able to effectively and efficiently work out of your bag. So, do I want to have to yank this thing out every time I need to get my flashlight? No. But what I do know is there's some of these pockets right on top, which aren't perfect, but maybe if I just get one of these stashed in here, and it kind of goes, but it sort of bottoms out, and I am afraid that this will just fall out. It's not very secure. So maybe flipping this around and getting it in, that may not be perfect. I don't really like that. There are pockets even deeper in the bag, further down, but that's not going to be easy to get to. This front pocket here, well, maybe, and there are some slots, so can that fit in there? No, those are tight. Do I just sort of toss this in there? Well, for this particular moment, that's what I gotta do. So just for the moment, I'm gonna throw that one in there. And what about this big boy? well, that might sit down inside this pocket way down here, which I think might be all right. And yeah, so you're not going to be able to see it too well, but down inside there, and you can kind of get a glimpse, you will see way down inside there. There's that other flashlight. So I'll keep that in there for now, and we'll just keep moving forward. All right, so my power bank. Again, not too much in the way of pockets, although right here on this top flap, that is maybe, and I'm hoping, about perfect. And yes, this is going to hold that nicely. So here you have a nice mesh pocket. It is zippered. That's going to go in there with my charging cables and my brick. So that works out actually fairly well. I kind of like that. And that 18650 battery charger, that fits in there too. Zippered up, nice and secure, nice and safe. And that seems to work fairly well. So not bad. Now I always end up with like little knick-knacky kinds of things, you know, just, you know, again, just, you know, small Leatherman. I use these because of the scissors. It's just very helpful. Also have tweezers just at the ready, which is nice. My little coin from Giant Mouse, which was a gift from Jesper Voxness, which is pretty cool. So I keep this with me, just a little token and memento. Always nice to have some dental floss if needed. And this is the type of stuff where that front pocket is always perfect, but I don't want it clanging and banging off of my flashlight, which tells me at this point, flashlight comes out, this stuff goes in. I'm still dealing with this. So do I have another accessory that will work out to my advantage? Well, I might need to explore that option. Which here, I do have a small Maxpedition shock cord style sort of Velcro backed organizer piece, which I think if I leverage this and carefully and put this right in the top of the bag, it should be situated just about right, and my flashlight should fit in there hopefully nicely. Now just at an initial glimpse, I do need to push this down a little more, so top of the bag isn't perfect, but I can go just a little bit lower, get my flashlight in here hopefully easily, and that will work if I'm careful. That seems to go okay. Is it going to push on the buttons? Well, hopefully not, because I can tell you this gets extremely hot, so I may need to lock it out, but at least it's in there. It's in my bag, it's quick and easy to grab, and it's reasonably organized. So I think that's going to work out pretty nice. Moving on to my safety glasses. These are sunglasses slash safety glasses. Now, for me, the perfect spot would be right down where that large flashlight is, but that's already being consumed. So can I play around and take this now and swap this to up here? Well, possibly. That would be great. Let's see what happens. Nope, it's gonna bang into my computer. I don't like that. That's why I want my computer on the outside of the bag, because then this type of conflict doesn't happen. But then getting these and putting them down inside into this lower compartment, that works literally perfect. So is there another spot where I can get this? Well, I'm just gonna have to take a minute and look around. And so I've realized that both the flashlight and my glasses both fit down in there nicely. So a little hard for you to see, but my glasses are down there, and that flashlight's still sitting in that pouch down in the bottom. And that works out pretty well. In overall width, I'm not pushing out, I'm not getting too wide. You'll see this organizer sitting in there nice and flush, and gives me the room for both this as well as the sunglasses and the flashlight. So far this is kind of working, not too bad. And continuing on, let's see what we have next. Which this can go anywhere, just a small fixed blade knife. Again, doesn't necessarily need to be anything in particular. I just need something to deal with my food. Well, this could probably, again, just slide into one of these compartments. In fact, if I just swap this clip around a little bit, that should clip nicely into place here. So let me just take a peek, switching this around and clipping that into place. Well, there we go. So that's going to sit in there nicely. I just need to deploy the knife when I need it. I don't really need the sheath. That can just stay permanently mounted. That's not a bad deal. And that sits in there nicely. So that's going to work. And the paycheck stubs, something that I want to sit nice and flush and even and not get lost. To me, again, this is a perfect spot for the back of the bag. So getting into the back of the bag again, can I somehow leverage this additional space? So if I could oh, see my flashlight going off, that's not a good thing. So if I could somehow leverage this space a little bit better and slide all of my stubs in here carefully, well, that would be ideal. And I don't know, it's not going to be great, so I'm just going to jam them in there for now. And what about all that paperwork? I always need to transfer paperwork, again, between home and office, and especially these days where I do spend a lot of time working remote. I don't like jamming papers into a place that don't have their own designated compartment. And that's what was just so awesome about the VanQuest. Everything was just laid out extremely well and compartmentalized and meant to hold the tablet. Again, hold my notebook. Again, hold my paperwork. All in their own designated little sleeves. But I don't have that here. So unless I get creative, I would need to get a folder. I could get a folder and slide it in here to help protect things. Maybe this is better if I actually take the paperwork and slide it in with the tablet. Well, I mean, kind of. It's not ideal. And I don't think this is the best layout, but that will do for now. All right, and so moving on to the hand sanitizer. Well, that's finally a spot where I think these top pouches are going to work okay. So these mesh pockets here on both sides. A little bit of competition here. That's the thing about this bag. It greatly struggles with competition of space is one problem, and the floppy factor is another. You see how much this bag's just moving around. It doesn't have a lot of form. I'm kind of flailing about. I just feel completely disorganized, even though I'm trying to become organized, and isn't that sort of counterintuitive? But yeah, getting this in here, let's just slide these in right in the top of the bag where I can get to them fairly quickly. Which leaves my business cards for, again, maybe the top on the other side of the bag. So stuffing those in, that'll work right there. So again, utilizing that mesh pouch on the opposite side. Spare masks. Now, I'm running out of exterior space here. There's not a lot of like exterior pockets or anything like that. And I think that is a big downfall. Now, what I can do, and if you've watched my prior videos, you do end up with this space right here, which if you don't undo the front clips and flop this open, you end up with a nice little pocket there. So I am literally just going to stuff these right in there, and they're going to live there for now. Which means, last but not least, morale patches. So I have actually accomplished what I set out to do, which is nice. Is it ideal? No. Does it work? Yeah, I think it does. At this point, I feel like I have actually managed to fairly reasonably get all my stuff in here and in a reasonably organized fashion. Is it ideal? I'm going to tell you it is definitely not. Is this sort of the like go-to ideal urban EDC backpack for me? No, it's not. But that's not what this video was about. And actually, that's not necessarily what the whole purpose of the Maxpedition TT26 is. It's really that crossover between an outdoor wilderness bag and an urban EDC bag. And at this point, I believe I've been able to demonstrate some of the pros, some of the cons, the things that work, the things that don't, some of my mentality, some of the things that I like. And if any of this sort of resonates with you, maybe you could share some of your thoughts and opinions. So overall, I'd say this has come together. I am glad to see that at this point I do still have water bottle pockets designated on the side of the bag. So with everything I have in here, the question is, what size of a canteen can I actually fit in here? And so here's your typical Nalgene, and getting this down and inside, there is literally, there is no way. There is no way that's gonna go in that side. And here, yes, it will go. So I have one usable side for a Nalgene, this side it won't fit. But to answer the question why, and I've covered this in my other videos, this bag again suffers from what I would call sort of a heavy case of competition of space. And what that really means is, if you look at these exterior pockets, they are not gusseted and they are not flexible. These are Cordura style nylon, so like a heavy duty nylon. These do not flex. And they're so flat on the side of the bag that there's no room for give to push out. But what that means is when you put something in here, it bulges in. And the contents that I have on the inside are essentially consuming all the space. And as I open this up here, you'll see, that's obviously my embodies organizer. Well, that's taking up the entire width of the bag with the glasses case and the larger flashlight. So that means there's no room for the water bottles to go. So unfortunately, even though the outside of this bag technically could hold 2 water bottles or canteens, which would be great for me because I typically have water in one and coffee in another. I go to the office and I'm good to go. But in this case, that's just not going to work. So at least I can get my water in here. I can't say the same for the VanQuest. I have really in that bag, literally no way to carry any beverages or anything like that. And at least here too, I do have a little bit of extra volume on the inside. So as I open the top back up, again, this is going to be at this point almost a dedicated top opening bag for me. But I do at least have some extra volume. So this can push out quite a bit. So if I wanted to add something like, I could put, oh, there goes my hand sanitizer. I can tell this is going to be a problem already. But if I wanted to put something like, say, for example, my food and lunch in here, or carry anything extra, or maybe even some additional paperwork and slide it in, different tools, a hat, winter gloves, things like that, that will work. So there is a little extra volume in this bag. Again, I can't necessarily say the same was the case for the VanQuest. So even though I do have this large organizer in here, seems like I do still have at least a little extra space. And also on the front of the bag, if I wanted to put a coat, I could take this and easily roll up a jacket and stuff it in the front here, so that will work. So overall, is this TT26 going to work for me? Well, I'll tell you what, I now need to bring it out into the field. So that's going to be the next thing, just getting it out into some good practical use to see how it feels. In terms of my overall thoughts, I don't think I'm going to last very long in this bag, to be honest with you. I'm going to try to give it a couple weeks. I don't know how it's going to go, but I can tell you based on how this is laid out and what I've come to learn using the ADAX 25, well, this TT26, I think, is just going to leave me a little bit short. I've been a little bit spoiled with the VanQuest layout mentality. And so very briefly, taking a look at how this looks on my back, I can tell you it probably feels as awkward as it looks. It's just so low. This bag is super short, and for me, being 6 foot plus, this really feels awkward. It's just riding strange. If I wanted to jack it up a little bit, I guess I could, which means I'm sort of pulling it a little bit higher. That does feel better, but now I'm really cinching down on the straps. And for me, in an urban EDC bag, you shouldn't have to do that. So the geometry is a little weird, the shape's a little weird, the organization's a little weird. I don't necessarily know truly how I feel about this. I mean, you might look at this and say, hey, it actually looks pretty good. I can't tell. I just know that it feels a little bit strange to me, and my days in this bag are probably quite limited. So all right, guys, there you have it. A look at me getting this Maxpedition TT26 set up for my urban EDC carry option. Now again, we've taken a look at this a number of times. We've looked at it in a general overview. We've looked at it as a woodscraft and outdoor option, and now looking at it for the urban EDC carry. Now, there's not too much more I need to say. I mean, generally speaking, I greatly enjoy Maxpedition products. They have been a leader for a long time. In terms of overall, I would say quality construction, quality materials, overall layout, and thought process. I just think that this particular bag and this TT series leaves it a little bit lacking. So I can't say anything about the overall quality. The quality, the stitching, the materials, the hardware, everything seems to be there. I just think from the, I'd say, standpoint of trying to combine that urban carry with the woodscraft carry, just separate the two, make two dedicated different bags, and excel at both of them independently. When you start to make trade-offs, and especially when you're trying to combine the outdoor woods and the urban EDC, sometimes those things aren't compatible, and in my opinion, it definitely shows in the TT26. So all right guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.